about possible application activities. During the second, we will explain to the public the contents of the proposed application after approval by the Board of Commissioners. After we receive citizens' input, I recommend that you call for a second public hearing to be held at your September 5th board meeting.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call for public comments. If there's anybody here who would like to come forward and speak, please come forward and state your name and address for the public record. Is there anybody here to speak? This is not public comments now.
Okay.
Okay. We will get to public comments, okay. Is there anybody here to speak? Please come forward. Yes, ma'am.
I have a process question. Did I understand you to say that we're going to hear the content, we're going to ask questions first and get the content later?
So
What did you say? What is the order of the information?
So tonight is just to get input from
I
our
understand the
citizens. We will have a second public hearing next month.
I'm asking about what you just spoke. How are we proceeding at this meeting at this time? Did you say that we're going to get the questions first and then the content? I'm just asking the order of information.
We normally don't ask questions. We seek public input and take your information.
Certainly, but you're getting ready to provide information to us about the grant. Is that not
I
correct?
just did. That's what I just
Is that
did.
all that you're going to provide to us tonight? Oh, nothing more? Okay. Thank you.
Is there anybody else here to speak? Hearing none, I think the recommendation is to call for a public hearing on September the 5th.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Nobody voting, sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the public hearing is, and second public hearing is called for September 5th. Scheduled appointments, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, we have Ms. Teresa Lewis, our tax administrator, who is here to present the annual tax settlement. Included for your consideration is a resolution to approve the annual tax settlement, as well as a resolution charging and authorizing her to collect the remaining taxes unpaid from 2012 to 2022 and the taxes levied in 2023.
Great.
Good evening. You have a copy of your annual settlement required by state statute in your agenda package. As you can see, the collection rate for the annual taxes went down from 95.37% for FY 2021 to 22 to 95.34% for FY 22-23, a slight decrease of 0.03%. I would also like to report that the motor vehicle tax collection rate for FY 22 and 23 is 99.77% collection, a slight increase of 0.13% from the past fiscal year, which this increase in motor vehicle collections and the minimal change in the annual collections of overall collection rate ended with a combined rate of 95.91%, which is the same rate as the previous fiscal year 21-22. The past 2 years has presented its challenges, one of which is having all new staff within the collections department. They've worked very hard over the past year learning collection procedures as well as North Carolina general statutes. The staffing challenges has only allowed us to maintain our minimum needs for collecting the monies received, not allowing us time to concentrate on enforcements as much as we would like to have. With that being said, I'm very pleased with what the Deputy Tax Collector, Ms. Lisa Skinner, has accomplished this year along with Mr. Peters and his staff. They have helped as well as thanking Mr. Evans and each of you for your continued support in our efforts to increase the collection percentages by allowing us to hire a delinquent tax specialist this fiscal year. Their sole responsibility will be concentrating on enforcements of delinquent taxes within our office, and our continued goal is to reach the state average of 98.11% within the 2 years of hiring this additional staff person. I'd like to share a few statistics of enforcements that are done within the collections office. I know everybody always hears about what happens and how we're bad, but this is what we have to do. We have actively 62 payment plans. We received 15 new filings of bankruptcies this year, totaling $42,757.29, which is untouchable. The state debt set-off program, we utilized them with a total of a new 152 debts, which we collected $11,303 this year with using that. We did 13 bank garnishments this year, collecting $24,739. We did a total of 1,342 wage garnishments this year, collecting $269,243. We also garnished what we call S-cheats, which is your unclaimed monies, with 62 claims. With that, we collected $14,669. We were able to increase our sheriff executions this year and served 94 taxpayers and collected $133,420. I'd also like to thank the sheriff's office for that assistance and that. We appreciate your help. And we did 76 additional parcels sent to the attorney's office for foreclosure. We sold 26 properties, which I'm glad to report that the county did not purchase any of those. And out of those 26 sales, we collected $159,000. Total foreclosure collected through the year was $590,358. That did include an additional rush at the end of the year trying to collect additional monies, which was 145 correspondents sent out with an additional $118,234 that we collected with that. As you can tell, we're very, very busy within our office, and we do utilize everything that the general statutes allows us to do to collect those taxes that are outstanding. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Ms. Lewis? If not, do we take action on this?
Yes, sir,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman. So the first action will be to approve the first resolution,
The
which,
tax collector settlement.
yes, sir.
Is there a motion to approve the tax collector settlement as of June 30, 2023?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. The next one is charge of tax collector with collecting taxes for the year 2013 through 2023. Is that correct, Doctor? With that,
Yes, sir.
is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you.
We have some scheduled guests on your agenda tonight. First, we'd like to welcome to the podium Mr. Peyton Kaiser. He's the 4-H delegate to attend the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Fall Conference, and I believe Ms. Tanya Heath is here as well.
Go right
Make a
ahead.
formal introduction.
Yes. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I am honored to introduce you to Peyton Kaiser. He is one of our 4-H'ers. He's going to be our representative to attend the Commissioners Conference later this month. But with that, I'll have to do a little marketing advertisement for Peyton. He was just put in, or he was inducted into the Honor Club, which is the highest honor a 4-H member can be in. So he was just inducted into that, 2 weeks ago? Week and a half ago. But anyway, so he's one of our favorite 4-H'ers. He's has done a little bit of everything in 4-H, and now he's getting ready to go find out a little bit about government. So we would like to get a picture if that's okay.
Well, you like to comment, Sherman? You like to say anything? Come on up.
We pushing it.
You can stand.
How does it work? Turn that.
Say what? What was that?
Yeah.
Maybe stand right there. Okay.
Do we need, okay.
Is it too much light? Yeah. Yeah, stand near me. I'll be there with you.
Sorry. Do we need, do I need to move over that one?
No, you're
Okay.
fine. I think I can just.
Stand unless you got on picture.
Oh,
There, he turned it off. There you go.
And you.
All right, I think I got everybody here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Faith.
Be prepared to talk a little bit more when you get to the conference.
Mr. Webb.
Yeah, Mr. Webb is on the schedule, but we do expect him to be running late for another meeting, so if it's okay, we'll push him down the agenda and call him up when he
That
gets.
sounds fine. At this time, now, ladies and gentlemen, we're to public petitions. If there's anybody here who would like to speak, please come forward and state your name and address for the public record. Ma'am, I see you act like you want to, if you want to come up and get some additional,
Well, don't let her go ahead. She's standing.
come
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kathy Williams, 2208 Robin Drive, Tarboro. I think you all know me by now. Brought you guys some pictures, and I'm going to tell you what they're for in just a second. So Edgecombe County's new vision statement is, Edgecombe County is a historic place that values its citizens and natural resources and creates opportunities where people are proud to live, work, play for generations to come. I disagree. I've lived in Edgecombe County my entire life, and I have never considered leaving Edgecombe County as much as I have in the last few months. I'm actually actively looking for housing outside of Edgecombe County, which I never thought I would do. I'm tired of paying outrageous taxes when I see nothing for it. The sheriff's office has had to beg for vehicles. We've been begging for a shelter for I don't know how many years. You know, we got duplicate facilities in Tarboro and Rocky Mount, even though Tarboro's the county seat. And there's going to be a grand reopening of the health department in Rocky Mount. I thought part of buying the big building down here and, you know, the two buildings that are out there by the shelter that are just sitting there, you know, they're just, it's a waste of money. And again, like I said, I started asking for a new shelter many years ago, and I know it's been talked about, but here we are, still waiting. You know, I don't think that anybody understands the number of dogs, puppies, cats, and kittens that are dying, that have done nothing wrong. They have no reason to die. And I don't know that anybody in the room understands what compassion fatigue is. And I think I've told you guys before that animal euthanasia is the act of killing an animal humanely, most commonly with injectable drugs. So I want you to think about the shelter attendant we have. This year alone, 330 dogs and cats have been euthanized at the shelter. That is a 46% euthanasia rate. We had it down to less than 20%, and we are back up to 46%, and it's only August. You know, I don't think anybody can understand what that feels like if they've not been there. I don't have to euthanize, thank God, I couldn't do it. I've told y'all before that I own stock in McDonald's as many chicken nuggets as I bought, and I bought more recently because I know that those dogs are going to die. 72 hours is a state law. You got to hold them 72 hours. Well, a lot of times if we have a few extra days, we can work with an animal that comes in that's terrified. But when you don't have any room and the calls don't stop, you don't have time to work with the dogs. They got to die. And that's not fair to those animals. And I don't know how to fix it. The citizens of the county, yes, they absolutely need to be more responsible. You know, we started offering the state's pay neuter program. And by the way, Williamston has not received a check, so we need to get on that if we can. We owe them a little over $1,400. And Williamston Veterinary Hospital was gracious enough to do that program for us because neither vet in Tarboro would participate. And so we've done some. We want to advertise it more, but until we get it, make sure everything's straight so the veterinarian's office can be paid, that's kind of a catch-22 for us. And I've actually offered, matter of fact, offered a lady today that can't go to Williamston. I'm going to take her dog to Williamston for her and let it get fixed, and I'm going to go back the next day and pick it up. Just because it's the right thing to do. And these pictures, so back in May, the shelter closed for 2 weeks to have the floor sealed and the walls painted. I'm not sure who was hired to do that job. I showed Mr. Matthews some pictures last Monday, but they were on my phone. I didn't have them printed, but I printed them for y'all, and there's 2 sets. Stan has been talking to the company that did the work because apparently there's supposed to be a 15-year warranty. I don't know if they used the wrong paint. I don't know what they did, but if you go to the town shelter and look when theirs was sealed, they've not had a single problem. And there's a picture of a puppy in here. And the reason the picture of the puppy's in here, because I wanted y'all to see that a 25-pound puppy ripped the sealant off the side of the kennel. Now, if that sealant had been done correctly, a 25-pound puppy wouldn't have been able to tear it up. The paint's coming off the walls already, and it's only been since May. And if that's the kind of work that company does, then it was a waste of money. I'm sorry, but it was. Like I said, we got to do better. I don't know how to fix it. But I do know that as a taxpayer, I've been severely, severely disappointed. I've seen some of the trucks the sheriff's office had to get because they couldn't get SUVs or they can't get cars. And anybody that's looking for a new vehicle knows they're hard to come by now, no matter what you're trying to get. I mean, I think the PD ran into trouble trying to get SUVs. And with some of the places they go in the county, they absolutely need the trucks and the SUVs. So that might cost a little bit more. But then you think about the cars. They had the terminals in the cars, the laptops in the cars. Well, then the things in there may not fit into the trucks. But they've got to adapt. So I don't know what the solution is, but I'm asking for help. I know you've committed to a shelter, but at this point, I mean, the land hasn't even been touched. And that was on the agenda, that was in the county's plan 2 years ago, I think, and the land is still sitting there. I mean, that timber could pay for part of the building. I just don't know what the solution is, but I had to let y'all know how many animals were dying, just because there's no room. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Can I ask a question?
Question? Question, Ms. Wood?
Can you tell me, what's the reason why the local veterinarians will not participate?
We didn't get an answer. We sent the email out multiple times because we have to provide to the state proof that we asked. We sent the email to both veterinarians' offices twice because we have to submit something to the state in writing. And we got 0 response. The first time we called, they said they didn't get the email. So we sent it again, and Amy sent it from her county email, so we have proof both times that it was sent, and we got no response.
But nobody went in person?
Not that I'm aware of. I know the reimbursement is low.
I was wondering if that part of the problem.
So the reimbursement for this year for a dog spay is, I think it's around $200 or a little more. And if you walk in off the street as a private citizen, I think they charge around $500. But yet, there's other vets, like the one in Williamston, that will do it for what the state reimburses. And to neuter a cat, it's like, I think the reimbursement's right at $100, and that's a surgery that takes 5 minutes. So I don't know if it's because they don't think they'll get any, I don't know if it's they think they won't gain patients from the program, if that's all they'll do, and then never see them again. But we're seeing that there are a lot of people that want their animals fixed, and they just can't afford it. And this program has been a godsend to a lot of people. We've helped a lot of senior citizens because we can do it on income too. It's Medicaid, food stamps, or the poverty limit. So,
Is there anybody else to speak? Yes, ma'am, please come forward, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Tracy Phillips. I reside at 1109 U.S. Highway 301, Whitakers, North Carolina, 27891. Our county's board's conduct has been nothing short of a disappointment, with abdication, desertion, and malfeasance leading to a dereliction of their duty as responsible stewards of our resources. This outrageous and unacceptable performance is now public knowledge, apparent to all except those who turn a blind eye to the truth or recklessly ignore the consequences of their actions. Such behavior cannot go unpunished. Those who act in this manner must face the consequences. The state auditor's recent report revealed clear red flags about the board and the county manager's performance. Gross mismanagement and a failure to lead by example have eroded the trust of those who rely on the county manager's guidance. This hypocrisy undermines the very essence of leadership that should be earned through accountability and transparency. Moreover, there has been a failure in fiduciary duty to provide adequate oversight and accountability of the county's resources. Repeated failure to reconcile bank accounts, late penalties, and inaccurate payrolls have resulted in the wastage of valuable resources that should be utilized for the betterment of the citizens in this county. The lack of due diligence from both the board and the county manager is an embarrassment. Matters that are material to accountability have been overlooked, and a lack of monitoring or reporting, have I been turned off?
Yes.
We hear you.
We hear you.
Has led to a delegation of financial management responsibilities without any sense of responsibility. Perhaps most concerning of all is the overall failure to communicate effectively with the citizens of this county. Essential information has not been shared transparently, leading to a lack of trust and high rates of staff turnover, toxic leadership, abuse of authority, and a disregard for the community's voices have created an atmosphere of mistrust and dissatisfaction. The consequences of this lack of accountability are evident. Our chief administrator seems disconnected from the realities at hand, displaying poor judgment and ineffective oversight of labor and resources. We cannot afford to have a leader incapable of meeting the challenges that lie ahead. In light of these alarming circumstances, I earnestly call upon the board to do the honorable thing and demand the immediate resignation of the county manager. Our county deserves better, and we stand at a pivotal crossroads, a moment that will determine the future and fate of Edgecombe County. The choice is clear. We can either continue with the leadership that has left us at the bottom in health, housing, and education, or we can embrace a new path of accountability, transparency, and good governance. Something that propels our county forward. We demand the change, we deserve it, and we're holding you responsible for your neglectful actions, and you need to be held accountable. We deserve, as the citizens of this county, nothing less. Thank you.
Is there anybody else to speak?
My name is Roger Sylvain, and I'm at 1109 US Highway 301, Whitaker, North Carolina. Same address. I noticed the other day in reviewing your budget, I don't know if you know that we have a debt service for a $3 million principal, and that we have budgeted for the interest on it, which seems to be 19% interest a year. I don't know if y'all are aware that it's such a high interest rate on that particular amount of money. You know, it's either the bankers are making really a good deal or somebody else is that a way of reapportioning money at a different time for other reasons.
Mr. Evans, please look at it.
The other thing is for the principal in the school, the $658,000, and the interest on that is 11%. 11%. So we're paying 11% on interest on one loan and 19% interest on the other. You know, those are two things. And the other day I attended the good meeting that your manager put together last Monday. And he mentioned the fact that you were hiring a new person to be responsible for coordinating unemployment to employers in the county. I think the amount was like 1,300 unemployed, and there are about 1,600 jobs. I did a little research, and I found out that you guys already have people doing that. You already have an office dedicated to that in this county. And it has 4 professionals in it. It's over at the Edgecombe County Community College. I believe Ms. Harris works in there. And they do that. As a matter of fact, when I spoke to the head of the department, he was flabbergasted. He didn't understand why in the world did we need to hire somebody else to do his job. Now, he can adjust the focus to resolve some of the issues that the county wants to address. But again, this is a matter of wasted money on hiring somebody else, one person, when you have 4 people and a whole staff of experienced professionals to be able to do so. I wish you guys really take that in consideration and make the necessary adjustments.
Thank you.
That's it.
Is there anybody else to speak?
John Walker, 1303 North Main, editor of My Tarboro Today digital newspaper. I'd like to just raise the question about leasing versus borrowing money on vehicles again. Conversation came up prior to the budget. It came up before the budget was voted on. We still haven't gotten anything. But one of the explanations was the fact that one company was talked to rather than Enterprise, because Enterprise wanted the entire county's business and not just the sheriff's office. What's wrong with that? I've sat in meetings before where we've talked about trying to find mechanics to work on the vehicles, having trouble finding diesel mechanics. We talked about a lot back over here where we could build a shop. Why not go with the company that would take your vehicles and have a management program for all of the vehicles in the county? That takes it off of the department head and allows them to do the job that they're supposed to do. Ms. Harris asked that question before, that she didn't understand that we didn't have a vehicle maintenance plan. You know, that's prudent spending of taxpayer money. You know, and that's the one thing. It's all taxpayer money. You know, I don't know what the interest rate is at Southern Bank, and I believe that's the one that we're using. But if we can get a better deal with Enterprise, if they want all of our vehicles and they want to do a vehicle maintenance plan, and the sheriff's office has a vehicle that has 150,000 miles, we're going to know that 50,000 miles ago, they came and got that vehicle and they've got a better set of wheels. You know, it makes no sense. You know, we've got to do a better job of spending our money. If my wife and I don't do it at home and we're on a fixed income, we're going to be in trouble. Well, y'all are on a fixed income because we can only give you so much. You know, we're already at 95 cents. So thank you very much for allowing me to say that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Camillus Dancy, 127 Midway Lane, Tarboro, North Carolina. Mailing address, P.O. Box 1391, Pines House, North Carolina. First, I want to start off, Mr. Attorney, you need to talk in the mic. I used my old laptop today so I could bring this up here. People were still posting, they couldn't hear you. I don't know how, but I posted that they, y'all got y'all site up. Maybe they can go over there, maybe they can hear you. But I want to echo what my committee member back here from the Animal Control Committee, I want to echo all that she said about animal control. Being on that committee, and I don't know where we're at now. We haven't had a couple of meetings, I guess, because of the summer or whatever, but I'll be glad when we get back on it and do something and move forward so we can do something about a new animal shelter. And then the last thing, y'all know I always talk about my Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office. It's embarrassing to me. I videoed the gospel singing at Edgecombe Community College on Saturday evening, and to look out in the parking lot and see this old Explorer, about old as me, and I'm 60. It's embarrassing to me. Our county got these old vehicles. We need some new vehicles. I don't get it. I know everybody else have spoke on it. I hate to sound redundant, but it is what it is. I hope I see some new vehicles next year, because people need, the officers need to be able to make it on a call, to the call, then they need to make it back home. I think some of them don't make it. Might make it their car breakdown, vehicle breakdown. In other words, let's get some new vehicles. Thank you.
Is there anybody?
Just a quick comment. Are the attachments available to the public?
What's that now?
The attachment to this document?
You can request, we can give you a full packet if you
Thank you.
Is there anybody else to speak? Any comments from the board? Well, I'm going to just make one comment. I don't usually do it at public petitions, but, you know, we have a 7-member board, and it takes 4 members of the board to approve of anything that comes out of the budget. And some of the projects that you're talking about we've been working on at some length of time. And we can only spend, as I said, we've got a fixed income, we can only spend what we've got. And it has to be spread around. And we make those decisions on where we're going to spread it. And sometimes we can't do, every department head that comes here wants some more money. And we have to make decisions on how we're going to fund them. And that's what we think we do. There was one comment about I have to comment about this, about our manager. He manages, how many employees we got?
About 500.
And while over oversight is his responsibility, along with that of department heads. And a lot of things, you can't fix things that don't get to you. But I've been around Edgecombe government for probably 24 years. And I certainly give this manager full confidence in terms of his ability to do this job. And I'm not asking the board to comment, but if I've got anything to do with it, he will stay here as long as I stay. If I can have that, he will be here. So I want to respond to that, okay? And we would like to see, we do value citizen comments. And if we get them more often, whether they're against government, whether supportive, but we do a lot of things that we like to hear that we do well. And sometimes we are privileged, we the board, we are privileged to have an agenda package that will contain more facts than you as citizens get. And those are the things that we deal with. We're working on that shelter in Theo Close. We're working on, no department will get everything they want. And we will not do it on the schedules that we have to do it based on the fundings that we have, and we will continue to do it. So a lot of you might not be satisfied, but we will continue to do things according to the budget that we have. Any comments from the board? Hearing none, next on the agenda. You got comments?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Say here none. Cut us off before we could comment.
Well, I asked for you. You didn't.
Yeah.
I asked you before I comment. I never cut the board off. Do I, Mr. Thorne? Mr. Thorne, do I allow you to speak when you speak? Do I allow everybody to speak?
Ms. Harris wants to speak.
But do I allow the board to speak?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
I understand our citizens' feelings. As a county commissioner, believe me, I share those feelings. During 20 and 21, we were in a pandemic. A lot of people were not working full-time inside the building, which allowed a lot of things to not happen as they should have happened. Our finance department has had to be completely revamped. We found out during that time we had people who were unexperienced, unable to do the job at hand. So believe me, we took precautions, and 2021 is gone. Now we have to start on where we are now. That department does not look like it used to look. We've made sure that we've hired people with experience. We've made sure that we put money in the budget so that we can get the best, because we understand finances is at the top priority of any county, because we've got to make sure that everything that we're supposed to take care of is taken care of. Now, whether you know it or not, county commissioners, we pay taxes just like you do. So, of course, we got upset when we saw the report. But we also had the opportunity to look in that report and see that the auditor did not have some things quite right. Now, you can't believe everything you read. I worked in the newspaper business for 15 years. So you can't believe everything you read. You got to remember who's doing the report. You've got to remember, before you take the blank out of my eye, you need to take it out of your own. So believe me, this board has come down and made sure that there are processes in place so that what has happened does not happen again. Believe me, we're not the kind to close our eyes to anything, even when it comes to our manager. Believe me, he's been told, he's been shown. But remember, he's a man just like the rest of us. And in 2021, he had his hands full just like everybody else. And right now, we believe that we're in a good place. The gentleman mentioned about the people at Edgecombe Community College. Dr. McLeod, who's the president of the college, is working with our manager on that specific job to include it with what he has. Because what he has is dealing with education and work. We've got to remember, everybody's not going to Edgecombe Community College. Everybody's not going to college, period. So we're trying to get people to work who want to work with their hands. There are jobs out there. People that can work with their minds, there are jobs out there. So I just wanted you to know that after 22 years of serving this county, yes, I was disappointed. Yes, I was one of the first ones to let him know I was not satisfied. But you got to remember, we're all human. Mistakes have been made, but we have put things in place to make sure that we're at the best that we can be for right now in 23, 24, moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Thorne, you had something? You had something?
I'll wait for the commissioner's report.
Okay. Anybody else? Hearing none, I see, I believe Mr. Webb came in, Regional Director of the Office of Congressman Don Davis. Please come forward, Mr. Webb.
It'll be good, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It is an honor to be here, Mr. Chairman, to the Board of Commissioners, County Administration, and to the citizens of Edgecombe County. It is an honor to be standing before you this evening. I will be brief. Do you know if they were able to get the
Yes, Jason, if you will, you can pull up the presentation for Mr. Webb.
While they pull that up, my name is David Webb. I'm the Regional Director for Congressman Don Davis. The Congressional District covers 19 counties, and Edgecombe is a part of that Congressional District. And I represent Edgecombe County as the Regional Director and as your point of contact if there's anything that our office can do to be of service. I have a little presentation here so you can have a visual aid, but I will definitely be talking on top of it. What I wanted to be able to do here this evening, I think it's clicking off of mine and going to somebody else's when I hit the button.
Jason, if you'll pull up the other presentation. This is Antoine's presentation we're looking at. There it is.
What's the right, is it the side button? Okay, yes, here we go. All right, so some of the things that our office provides, what I'm gonna do is tell you a little bit about what our office provides. Thank you, sir. A little bit about what our office provides, as well as some of the things that we've done over the last 6 months that Congressman Davis has been in office. Some of the work that we do, one of the most important pieces is congressional casework. As the office, we can serve as a liaison between the constituents and a federal agency. So if you have an issue or a case or a situation that has come up, we can act as that liaison to reach out, to get an inquiry, to get an update. Obviously, we can't change the outcome, but we can get you an answer and try to see through some of the confusion. They are required to respond. I do like to be upfront. Sometimes it takes 60 to 90 days to get a response, and sometimes it takes 1 to 2 weeks. But we will let you know what that average response time is when you reach out. Some of the successful casework that we've had, we've received over $30,000 for a surviving son of a veteran. We've gotten somebody their passport in way less than 2 weeks so that they can make it to their trip. They were very grateful. So that's just a little bit of some of the things that we've done. In terms of constituent outreach, that is where the regional directors come into play. We're in the community often. We're showing up at your events, at your gatherings, at your meetings. If there's any way that we can be of service, we want to make sure we're present, but you got to let us know. So let us know where we can show up and how we can serve better so that we can continue to do that outreach in the community each day. In terms of educational opportunities for the youth, we have 3 main ways that we do that. And then it's through the Congressional Art Competition. So if there's a young person that is great at art, wants to submit their artwork, we have a banquet for them. And then that will happen towards the end of the school year. In the beginning of the school year, we have a Congressional App Challenge where they can create their own app to really get involved and engaged in coding, which is really important to get that down here in the East. And additionally, we can do recommendations for congressional for military academies, so we can do recommendations for youth to do that as well. And commendations and greetings, if there's any type of letter, if there's a retirement, there is an award, if somebody has done something wonderful, we can give you a letter from the office of Congressman Don Davis. Let us know how we can do that, and that goes for the county as well. We'd love to be, assist you all in honoring the folks that are doing great work every day for the East. Flag request, we can do a direct flag request. So if you would like a flag flown over the Capitol, with a personalized letter to go along with it directed to that individual or the nonprofit or organization, we can do that as well. And then federal grant assistance, the way that works is if the county is applying for grants, if there is a nonprofit applying for grants, we can do a letter of support from the congressman's office on behalf. So please let us know so that we can be helpful in getting the money down here to the east, in Edgecombe County particularly. And then constituent representation in Congress. Obviously, the number one job of the legislator is to legislate and to do legislation. So the congressman is really big in that and making sure that he hears your concerns and showing up. And we show up in numerous different ways. We show up in town halls that are general public. We show up with listening sessions. We show up with roundtables, and they can be focused on specific issues that are important to the east, right? So we've done agricultural listening sessions because the farm bill is up this year. So to hear exactly what folks need right here, right? Instead of just figuring it out in DC, we want to listen to you all. So we want you to participate in those ways. We've done tours to different factories, industry, small business, meeting with different local officials. And then we do newsletters and text and calls. I'm sure plenty of people get those. And then virtual seminars, such as the one we did for community project funding to give the towns and counties information on how to apply for funds from the federal level. In addition, I'll give you a little bit of legislative updates so people are most interested in. The congressman is one of the most bipartisan members in Congress with 85% bipartisanship rating. And that has allowed him as a freshman member to be a co-sponsor in over 150 pieces of legislation. He serves as a vice-ranking member on not only the House Agriculture Committee, which we know is critical to the East, but as well on the Armed Service Committee as well. So if there's anything that you have an issue with in those regards, please don't hesitate to reach out. We certainly want to hear your feedback and take that back to Washington. Okay, perfect. So in terms of appropriations, this is what everybody wants to know about, where the money is. The community project funding, for those that do not know, is how the federal government works to get money down to the local towns and counties. In terms of that, I'm going to be really direct and intentional about that response. Congress has set the stage for a chaotic September with the House and Senate on a collision course over appropriations and the risk of a partial government shutdown already being assessed. Out of the 12 annual appropriation bills that Congress has to pass every year, the House has only passed one of those bills. That's military construction and VA funding. Because those 12 bills have yet to pass and members are in the district right now until mid-September on a recess, there's likely not going to be enough time that the government will be able to fund those bills and have them all negotiated by the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th. So that means that we will likely have to consider continuing resolution, which means a continuation of the current funding levels, not approving next year's fiscal budget, which contains those community project funding requests. With all that being said, the projects are in their respective committee reports accompanying their appropriation bills, but we still cannot guarantee that these bills will be passed. But we do hope, and we will be fighting you today for that funding for the East. Full circle, just so you know about it, and this is where I'll end. Congressman Don Davis loves to highlight what is going on in Eastern North Carolina. There are so many good things. There's people that are doing great things. There's organizations that are doing great things. The county is doing great things. But we got to highlight that, honor that. People need to know that the East is on the map, right? So the congressman is going to the floor more than any other member, and that is a fact. He won the competition for that, to tell stories about the East and to tell the stories of the citizens. We see Mr. Joe Balo here, and actually that is a 102-year-old veteran that was shot down twice as a bomber pilot, but lives to tell that story. So Congressman Don Davis told that story on the floor, and I presented him that congressional record. But we want to do more of that, right? We want to tell that story because it needs to be highlighted. It's been too far left behind. So please let us know if there's anything like that. The congressman needs to come and sit down and then talk about that or highlight that on the floor. Thank you all so very much for your time. I appreciate all of that time that I took up from this important meeting. And then if there's any way that we can be of service, please reach out on the website. Many of you have my number, and I'm happy to give it to you at the end of the meeting today. Let me ask if there's any questions.
Any questions from the board?
I just want to know, is one of those requests helping us get an animal shelter?
Well, I don't know that we received a community project.
We're approaching that through state budget.
Yes. So I don't think we received one for the last fiscal year or the upcoming one, but in February there'll be an opportunity for you all to apply again if that is something you shall wish.
I just know Congress has these special projects that all of a sudden they find they can do in different communities. well, Edgecombe County is that community that he could do a really good one, animal shelter, and I think we would have the folks to give testimonies if he needed that.
Oh, no, I've heard the importance of the animal shelter, yes, ma'am. And I would definitely urge the county to submit a project request for that next year.
Any other comments or questions from the board? If not, ladies and gentlemen, unless anybody from the public like to ask Mr. Webb a question? If not, thank you, Mr. Webb. Don't keep it open too long, they'll find something to ask, okay?
I was thinking I could out too easy.
You can sit down.
Thank you so much.
I would make a comment. The other day, I needed to find some information about the Democratic people in the county, and I called Congressman's office, and I think you're the one that gave me the information.
That's the man you can call right there. Okay. Moving on to other business. Go ahead, Ms. Evans.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So the first item, we're asking you to consider ratifying a previous board action for additional grant funds for Water and Sewer District 6. I'll give you some background information on that, then we'll request that you convene as the Governing Board of Water and Sewer District 6. As you know, we received notice of additional grant funding available from USDA Rural Development for our infrastructure project in Water and Sewer District 6 in the amount of $2,327,000. Since USDA had to get those funds obligated before August 4th, you called a special meeting for August 2nd at 2 p.m. However, because of some unexpected and urgent family and health emergencies and obligations, only 3 members of the board were present at 2 p.m. for the special meeting. After consulting with USDA, it was clear that to avoid losing $2,327,000 of USDA grant funds, it was necessary for the board to immediately consider the grant amendment without a delay that would be caused by calling for a later special meeting. Therefore, the board called an emergency meeting for August 2nd at 4 p.m. to approve the grant amendment. The emergency meeting was held on Tuesday, August 2nd at 4 p.m. A quorum was present, and the board properly considered and approved the grant amendment in time to secure the grant funding. Even though the meeting was properly called and a quorum was present which unanimously approved the action, I know it is important to you to be transparent with our citizens. Therefore, to show clear support for the acceptance of those grant funds in a regularly scheduled meeting of the board, I recommend that you convene as the Governing Board of Water and Sewer District 6 and then ratify the board's previous action to approve Amendment Number 2 to the Letter of Conditions for the USDA Rural Development Grant for Water and Sewer District 6, increasing the grant by the amount of $2,327,000.
There's a motion to recess this regular meeting, convene as governing body of Water and Sewer District 6.
So moved.
Second. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're now sitting as governing body of Water and Sewer District number 6. And the motion, please read the motion again, Ms. Evans.
The motion is to ratify the board's previous action to approve Amendment Number 2 to the Letter of Conditions for the USDA Rural Development Grant for Water and Sewer District 6, increasing the grant by the amount of $2,327,000.
Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Is there a motion to adjourn as governing body of Water and Sewer District number 6 and reconvene as a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners?
So moved.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, we're now sitting as the county commissioners again. On to the budget amendments, Ms. Evans.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. You have budget amendments presented for your consideration. Those at the front of the budget amendment section, those that are required for your approval. I'll review those and give you some background. The rest are for your information. I do have an additional budget amendment number 6B that should be at your place. I would ask if you would consider us adding that budget amendment number 1. This is our workers' compensation came in a little over $22,000 more than what we budgeted. So you're seeing that we're moving We are adding additional funds to the budget to cover those additional costs. Budget amendment number 2. This is, the board approved accepting a Governor's Crime Commission Highway Safety Grant for the Sheriff's Office. This will appropriate those funds in the appropriate lines. As a note that this pays part of salary and related costs for a position, half of which must come from the county, which is coming from existing salary budget. In the Sheriff's Office, budget amendment number 3. This is a grant that is above the annual allocation that we receive for what's called PSAP funds. PSAP stands for Public Safety Answering Point, or it's our E911 calling center. These are additional grant funds we're receiving, so you'll see we're budgeting, receiving, and appropriating that in the appropriate lines. Budget amendment number 4. This is to move funds to a newly created travel line in the Sheriff's Office. No additional appropriation from fund balance, which is moving it from one line to another there. Budget amendment number 5. These are additional funds received in the Health Department. We are asking you to consider approving this to appropriate that revenue and then to the appropriate expenditure lines. Budget amendment number 6. This is remaining funds to roll forward. This is part of ARPA funds that we receive. We use ARPA. These ARPA funds enable us to budget $100,000 in the planning office to do our urgent home renovations program that is underway. So this $24,000 is the balance from last fiscal year to roll forward. Budget amendment 6A. You may recall that last year we received a little over $270,000 from Medicaid cost settlement funds. What we have been doing for the last few years is using those funds to purchase vehicles in EMS. With those funds, we did purchase one remount last year. We were hoping to be able to purchase a second one before the end of the fiscal year, but we were not able to identify one. We have identified one now, so we're asking that you roll those funds forward, so that will be appropriating that from fund balance into capital outlay and emergency services. And the last one for your approval, which is the one I'm asking if you will add for your consideration, these are funds from the PSAP program, as I mentioned before. These are part of the annual PSAP funds that we receive. Funds that go unspent go into a PSAP fund balance, so we are appropriating from that fund balance $106,840 into that capital outlay line so that some equipment can be purchased. Happy to answer any questions that you might have on those or any of the other budget amendments, but I recommend that you approve.
Question.
Go.
On 6 and 6A, should they not have department head signature?
6 and 6A. If sometimes those budget amendments are generated in the finance department, they were prepared in the finance department, so in that case, it doesn't have to have the department heads.
I just noticed the other ones did, okay.
I'm glad you asked. There was one I did notice one in here, I forgot which one it is, that did not have my signature. I do approve it. I will make sure that it was on budget amendment number 5. I will make sure that I go back and sign the original copy.
The motion will be to approve budget amendments 1 through,
6B.
you have a 7, don't you? Did you have a
It's
6?
under something else.
No, the budget amendment number 7 is for your information. It's not requiring
1,
approval.
is a motion to approve budget amendments 1 through 6B?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the budget amendments are approved. Moving on.
Item C is regarding assistance policy for urgent repair program. We have been awarded $76,000 by the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency under the 2023 cycle of the urgent repair program. The goal of the project is to assist at least 5 very low and low-income families with special needs and addressing housing conditions that pose imminent threats to their life and/or safety, or to provide accessibility modifications and other repairs necessary to prevent displacement. NCHFA requires that we adopt an assistance policy and procurement disbursement policy before a funding agreement is issued. Included for your consideration are those policies. I recommend that you approve both as presented.
Motion?
Second.
Questions?
Do we already have a list of people waiting?
We have people that call all the time. We keep a list, and then we let them know when we have new funds available. But we also advertise for new applications.
Any other questions?
How is it determined who gets what?
For like urgent repair program? So we, thanks. We take applications for a defined period of time, usually 30, sometimes 45 days. First, we have to determine that the household is eligible. That is, they have to show proof of ownership. They have to meet one of the other eligibility criteria. Then beyond that, it is ranked. We have a ranking system. For example, if it is an elderly person in the household, gets certain priority points. If it is a large household that has 5 or more people, it gets priority points. And then they are ranked and by those points and date of application. And then we simply go down as far as we can on that list. We normally have more people to apply than we have funds to assist.
You said they have to have ownership.
Yes, ma'am. These programs are for owner-occupied dwellings.
When you make that list, the ones that didn't quite make the cut, do they get rolled over the next time, or will they have to reapply?
They often have to reapply. We have to take a separate application, but we let them know when we're taking new application. That's a good question.
Any other questions? Did I get a motion on it? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Next is regarding job descriptions for newly created positions. As you are aware, the FY24 budget includes funding for the following new positions: the Career Navigator at a grade 22, Parks and Recreation Director, grade 23, and an in-house attorney for Social Services, grade 25. The budget also includes adding back a delinquent tax specialist position, which was previously on our pay plan. That is added at grade 12. I recommend that you approve the job descriptions as presented, as well as the revised pay plan that includes those positions at the grades as stated.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
You second the first. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Let the record reflect votes 5-1. Next.
Next is regarding sole sourcing for the purchase of water meters. Presented for your consideration is a quote to upgrade the water meter reading system utilized by the Utilities Department, along with purchasing new water meters and associate appurtenances to replace water meters within several districts. The county's Utilities Department utilizes Neptune water meters to monitor water usage throughout Districts 1 through 5. However, District 6, which is in the town of Princeville, utilizes a Badger meter system that was inherited at the time the county took over ownership from the town of Princeville's system, which currently leaves the Utility Department operating 2 separate meter reading systems. Currently, the Badger reading system and water meters are in desperate need of replacement. Therefore, it is much easier to convert the entire Badger system to the Neptune system. According to our financial policy under competitive bidding, when goods or services are only available from a single source, those items can be purchased through sole sourcing but must be approved by the governing board prior to the purchase. It's recommended that you approve the attached quote as presented.
How old are those meters?
I'm not sure. How old are they?
They should be somewhere about 15 years.
Any other questions? Motion?
I motion.
Second?
Second it.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next.
The next item is regarding a resolution to appropriate additional opioid settlement funds. As you are aware, counties are receiving additional funds from a second opioid settlement with 5 pharmacies referred to as the second wave. The distribution process mirrors the original settlement agreement with counties. We have already received the first allocation of $64,714.67. Presented for your consideration is a resolution to update our appropriation from both settlements. The total amount includes the first 2 allocations from the first settlement wave, the amount received from the second wave, and the anticipated amount to be allocated later this fiscal year. I recommend that you approve the enclosed resolution as presented.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Questions?
I have just a comment.
Go right ahead.
I think that we need to work with our attorney and the Association of County Commissioners, because it's my understanding that the manufacturers have started to default on those payments and are going to renegotiate these opioid payments. And we're allocating these funds and expecting payment over 16 years. And so I think that we need to make sure that we as a board are cognizant of that and are pertinent to the legislation and how that process is going.
Make sure we get it first.
Correct. I mean, they've committed to 16 years, but they just defaulted on their second payment of the billions of dollars.
Right. A good point. Thank you for that. Okay.
Our executive director has not sent anything out on that from the association, but I would definitely.
It's just hitting the news about those, and they think that it's a way to renegotiate the settlement. So.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Edgecombe County ABC Board,
You have item G, Mr.
is that good? Consideration approval amendment to correct and update ordinance for solid waste. Go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. You have here tonight amendments to both our solid waste ordinance and the water and sewer or utilities ordinance that was adopted on June the 28th. We have some additions and corrections to make. I'm going to ask Mr. Mike Matthews, to come forward, and he's going to walk you through those changes to
Go
the
right ahead.
ordinance.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So the first one you have before you is the solid waste ordinance. This is amendment number 1. When we got to looking through our fee structure for the solid waste department, we noticed that there was just a few corrections that needed to be made. I don't know if I had fat finger syndrome or whatever when I sent it in. So one of the changes is the construction and demolition. We were supposed to have gone from $50 per ton to $55. Also, yard waste was at $44.50, which should have been $46 per ton. And also, we left out the scrap tire disposal fee, which was not in the original ordinance, but it needs to be in this one at $90 per ton.
Any questions, Mr. Matthews? If not, is there a motion?
You fixed everything. You fixed everything.
I did, yes.
Okay,
He fixed
I'll
it.
make that motion.
He fixed everything he knew about at this time.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Next, he'll tell you the differences with the water and sewer operations ordinance.
Sir, excuse me, I see you've got your hand up. We usually don't, excuse me, we usually don't have any comment during our meeting.
It's just, you said about the $90 disposal fee for the tires. Is that going to be passed on to the consumers?
Yes. So the way it works is everybody in Edgecombe County that does not live within town limits, town of Tarver, Pine Top, stuff like that, where they pay a solid waste fee, they have the option of going in and disposing of 5 tires per year, which is just a simple homeowner. When you get into businesses like a Black Wills, like a Bullwoods or something like that, they pay a tax, a disposal tax, that goes to the state, and we in turn get reimbursed for that at a portion. Yes, when you go to buy a new set of tires, you pay a tire tax. Yeah. This, the $90 per ton is when you get an outsider, a farmer, or somebody who's collected a bunch of tires, they can come in and dispose of it at $90 a ton. So we just have to have a set fee. Absolutely.
Since we opened it up, any other comments? Any other questions out there? Go right ahead. We got a motion, didn't we? Did we get a motion? All in favor, did I get a?
We've already passed the
We've already
first one.
passed.
He's just going to review the second.
Go right ahead.
The second one is the water and sewer operations. This is 100% on me as well. So when I send in the fees, the only thing that needs to be corrected is the residential and commercial fees. They should have, the first 5,000 gallons is $7 per thousand. That is correct. But from there forward, it should have been $7.50 and $8.25. And we had them set at $7.75 and $8.25. So it's just that one correction to move them to $7.50 per thousand and $8 per thousand.
You got it, 750 and 8.
Right, that's what it should be.
Okay.
Yeah, the one we adopted was $7.75 and $8.25.
Okay.
It went up by 75 cents when it should have been 50. Yep. That's the only correction on that ordinance.
Any other questions? Do we need to approve that?
Yes, sir, you need a separate motion for
Is
this.
there a motion to approve, what's that, the water?
The utilities, water and sewer operations ordinance.
The water and sewer operation?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you do have at your place, I asked if you will consider a supplemental agenda item. And this is regarding consideration of approval of ambulance franchise agreement for coastal medical transport.
Without any objections from the board? Hearing none? Go ahead, Ms. Evans.
Coastal Medical Transport has submitted a franchise agreement to provide ambulance transportation in Edgecombe County. Edgecombe County citizens could benefit from having Coastal Medical Transport as a non-emergency ambulance transportation servicer to help meet the high demand of transporting our bed-confined patients to in and out of county doctor's appointments, local hospital discharges, and routine recurring care appointments such as dialysis. Currently, Edgecombe County EMS Non-Emergency Division is maximizing all opportunities to transport patients. However, the demand is now beyond our capability to manage, considering prioritizing 911 emergency calls for service, prioritization of recurring dialysis non-emergency transport, and inability of staff non-emergency transport units due to professional demand. I do recommend that you approve the franchise agreement for coastal medical transport.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next, Edgecombe County ABC Board. Mr. Kevin Wiggins is recommended for reappointment. He's not related. Is there a motion to reappoint?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, he is reappointed. After list and releases for review and approval, Mr. Evans.
Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Hearing no questions, are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
A motion?
Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Contracts for review and approval, Mr. Evans.
Yes, sir. You can see we have a number of contracts. 3 of these exceed the $50,000 limit that I can approve. So they are a contract for Dr. James Winslow, contract with Edgecombe Public Schools for the state funds for school nurses, and then finally, healthcare for inmates, IMS correction healthcare. I do want to update or correct that number for that contract for healthcare in the detention center. They're going to be starting their services in September, so it'll actually be 10 months they'll be providing, so it'll be a total contract amount of $462,000 for those 10 months. Happy to answer questions that you might have on those 3 or any others, but I do recommend that you.
Any questions before we get a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, they are approved. Departmental reports for review. Are there any questions or anything you need to bring to our attention?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Mr. Antoine Brown, our Emergency Service Director, to come forward. He's going to give you tornado damage overview and update, and have a resolution we'd like for you to consider with that as well.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Good evening.
Good.
Okay, we're good here. All right, so I'm gonna give you an update as it relates to the tornado event, Wednesday, July 19th. Here in Edgecombe County, first and foremost, just want to thank the first responders and people, everyone that had a hand in helping with the response and moving towards the recovery phase that we're in now.
I think he needs some help.
It is on. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, so just a little bit of a brief. So, of course, we were impacted by EF3 tornado about 12:43 on July 19th. The total impact here in Edgecombe County was about 8.8 miles. It was in the county for about 16 minutes. We saw the width of the tornado anywhere from a third to a quarter of a mile wide at certain points. Impacts that we had 2 churches, chicken house, commercial agricultural farm, solid waste convenience site, and then we had 28 total residences. Happy to report we had no fatalities. We did have 2 subjects with life-threatening injuries on the day of the tornado, and we also had one with non-life-threatening issues. Everyone has been discharged from the hospital at this point, so we're happy to report that. These are just some pictures utilizing our drone, of course, that kind of cover some of the area. This is the Morning Star Church Road area near Commissioner Powell's home. This is drone footage of the Cokertown Road area, just kind of surveying some of the damage. With this tool we were within an hour of the tornado moving out of our county. We were immediately able to launch this and begin to assess the damages in connection with our damage assessment team here locally. I'll try to move forward past this. There we are. Okay, so now moving towards recovery. Immediately at the hand of Chair Commissioner on Saturday, July 22nd, we held a tornado survivors meeting that was at Phillips Middle School. There we were able to kind of convene all of our tornado survivors to try to really get a grasp on what the unmet needs and to figure out to begin the recovery process. On Sunday, July 23rd, of course, Governor Cooper and his team came and visited the county, and with Emergency Management Director Will Ray came as well to kind of survey so we can move towards, again, getting to where we need to be to start the recovery process. We did hold a meeting with the state recovery team on Monday, July 24th at the Rocky Mountain Event Center. There, the state brought down the actual assessment team. We used the state to tap into federal dollars, and so they came and began to assess the damages of all of our residences and commercial structures that were involved. Really 2 lenses that we have to be able to tap into funding for our folks that were impacted. The homeowners, we needed 25 homes of 40% or greater damage. We were looking specifically at uninsured or underinsured homes. And then local government, municipalities, we needed uninsured expense of $10,000 and at least 1% of our county operating budget. We did not meet these thresholds as a county. As you can see, it's kind of broken down here a little bit. So we have affected, minor, major, and destroyed. So we had a total of 5 homes. Starting from the top, we had a total of 4 homes that were affected. 3 of those 4 were insured. Minor, we had a total of 11 homes. 7 of those were insured. And then major and destroyed is really where we get into using those numbers for the calculation of trying to get for the individual assistance the 25 homes at 40% or greater. And remember, that's underinsured or uninsured. And so of the 13 that were major, we had 4 homes that were insured. And then of the destroyed, we did have 1 home that was insured. All right. This is kind of the track of the Forestry Service kind of came in and did a track of our timber damages. So you kind of see this here. In Edgecombe County, we were about $320,000 of estimated damage in timber, about 222 total acres. Again, that's the same information. So our next steps, this is a continuing process. We're constantly working with the state long-term recovery team. We had a meeting today. Some of the priorities you kind of see here from our partners. United Way, again, is still continuing to provide financial support for citizens impacted. We understand that debris removal is a big thing here. And so we're really tapping into private funding that NCEM Long-Term Recovery is able to access alongside our partners as well, so we can reach a point where hopefully we'll be able to pull to begin to remove some debris from the right-of-ways. Over to the right is a QR code, from United Way. They have a lot of partners and folks in the community who want to come out and help. They have chainsaws and trailers and equipment that they can use that they want to go out and help. And so they're kind of serving as our central point or our hub for all of our volunteer organizations to connect and kind of have a plan of action for Edgecombe County. So they're kind of leading that for us. If there are citizens that still have unmet needs, we've been really aggressive locally and with the state team as far as reaching out, going door to door and connecting with citizens who were impacted by the tornado. If we've missed someone or if there's still unmet needs, we encourage citizens to call 211. 211 is a service that's provided by the state that we pay for. And essentially it serves as a hub as well. And so there are professionals on the other line that can connect you to any type of resource that still may be needed. And that's it. Any questions?
Did you get a list of needs when you had the meeting with the folks that you could share?
That's a great question. So at the meeting we did, there was a disaster information sheet which specifically asked for unmet needs for all the attendees and even the folks who could not make it. We personally took the forms out to their homes and we're able to kind of survey and see what those needs are. We do have those. Part of it's a clause on the disaster form that it asks the people who were impacted if we could share that with local, state, and federal partners, and if they sign, we do. So far, we have shared it with the American Red Cross, and that's how they've been able to connect with a lot of folks in United as well, Tar River.
I just thought about, some of us may know other organizations, we're involved in organizations that may want to help, but don't know what to do, so.
Yeah, right. So the point, Commissioner, I would say what we're trying to do is essentially hub everyone because we get calls every day. And so we're constantly meeting with United Way, our long-term recovery partners, that the Baptists have been very active. And so a lot of those partners are all coming together through United Way to have conversations about what our next steps should be. So we all stay in sync and move forward together.
And is someone making sure that we have equity, equality rather,
Absolutely.
Nash, Edgecombe County? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And I will say, just to add that Mr. Brown mentioned we had a meeting this morning with Representative from Emergency Management talking about funds for unmet needs, and it was a promising meeting. They've been working very hard. I mean, they know the importance, not just for us, but even places in Nash County outside of Dorchester that was not declared. There's still many unmet needs, and so the state has been very active in identifying funds, and so we were told today that we should know something definitive, or at least which direction we can move in by the end of the week. It will likely be a memorandum of agreement that will have to come back before this board if there are going to be some funds that will pass through us. A lot of it will be these agencies working directly with the homeowners that won't necessarily have to come through us, but some of that, like debris removal, for example, will come through the county.
Any questions, Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown?
But even though we had good support, promised a meeting, we do have a resolution. I don't want to forget that.
Excuse me, go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to mention that I attended church on Sunday at the New Star Christ, Church of Christ in Rocky Mount, and we all want Ms. Powell to know that our prayers are with her. and her
Thank you.
family.
Do you have anything else on this? Did you have?
Yes, we have the resolution. It's in your packet. And the resolution basically says, even though I know the state is working hard to identify funds, it is requesting, it is describing the damage and impact we had here in the county and asking the state to please see if they can find any funds to help us address some of these unmet needs. I mentioned this to Mr. Joe Stanton from the Emergency Management Office, Emergency Management Office today, and he said he thought this would be a really good thing for the county to adopt and bring. And it's just behind, it's in the department head report section.
Well, I missed that, but is there a motion to, we need to approve the resolution?
Got a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Thorne. You got it.
Well, if we want to approve that, I just wanted to make comment about it, but we can approve that.
Go ahead, make your comments, go ahead.
Okay. Mine wasn't about that. Thankful for that. I was just looking through these after lists, so if you want to, we can vote on that resolution while we're there, and then I wanted to just mention comment about water.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Now, you wanted to go, where were you going, Mr. Thorne?
Just in the departmental reports, I just wanted to comment on the water, and so.
Go right ahead.
I'd spoken, when I saw the water meters, I'd spoken to Mr. Matthews this afternoon about kind of where that funding was coming from and how that was being done. But in that process, you start to look at these after lists and these department reports, and a lot of this stuff can get swept under the rug. But the water department this month has a 17% loss ratio. If you look at the previous reports, we're averaging 38% loss. So I just want to acknowledge publicly the work that they are doing, and we're out there in the summer and making our water system better. I mean, that is real money to the county and making a better water system. And they're working in the dead heat of the summer. Last month it was at 24%, this month is at 17%. We've been at 28% the month before that. We'd never been below 30% in any month before that. So that is tangible work that they are doing for our community. So thank you to him. I know he had a meeting that he couldn't be here, so couldn't say that to him, but wanted it to be on the record that we see it and acknowledge it.
Any other comments on the department reports? Any comments from any of the board members? Ms. Evans?
Under manager's report, you see you have the workforce development indicators, the monthly report, monthly update, also the TDA financial report. I do want to mention briefly as far as an update on county line merger. What the school system calls the design team, it's been a group that they gathered, I guess, over a year ago, and they reconvened that group. They've really started to get into some details about how they might use those 4 school buildings when the county line mergers happen, how they may assign grades to those schools and students to those schools. They're looking at different scenarios, so they haven't made final decisions on that, but I just wanted this board to be aware that they're working in that level of detail at this point. Also, there's another committee, we call it the County Line Merger Committee, which both superintendents, both county managers, chair of the boards, as well as the attorneys, we've been meeting every couple months or so. We had a meeting about a month ago, and we're starting to now get into some of those granular details. In fact, we have a meeting, our next meeting tomorrow, and we'll be talking, they're looking at details like assets that will have to be transferred. So just wanted this board to be aware that the work and the planning is getting into that level of discussion. Also wanted to make sure that this board is aware, I'm sure you'll remember that Rocky Mount Edgecombe CDC built about 16, 17 years ago, a building at Fountain Park, just across from what was the women's prison. And it was a small business incubator. It operated for a long time. They had a couple of anchor tenants, including North Carolina Department of Revenue, what used to be Employment Security, now NC Works was there, and a few other tenants. They lost revenue office. That call center moved out several years ago. And long story short, in the last few months, they've lost their last tenant. And so they have some interest in selling the building so they can reinvest those funds into other projects like crossings at 64. We've had several conversations about the possibility of that building being used for some type of high school or high school option in Rocky Mount area as it relates to county line merger. In the meantime, you'll remember that back when Triangle Tire was planning to come to the county, part of the incentive was we were going to build a training center at Kingsborough Industrial Park. When Triangle Tire backed out, Golden Leaf Foundation pulled those funds back, said if another project comes, let's talk. The community college had received a state appropriation of $2.5 million to put equipment in that training center. And they had that grant agreement in hand, still do. And so after some discussion about the best and highest use of those funds, talking with our Representative Willingham, those funds now through State Budget Office have been reappropriated or redirected to be able to purchase that building at Fountain Industrial Park to be used as some type of high school option. And we still have lots of details to work out about that. We're having ongoing conversation between community college and the school system. The school system, their committee, as they meet, they're putting that into the conversation as when they're talking about, you know, where to put students and that kind of thing. So still some things to be worked out about that, but I want you to be aware of that. I think that's a really good opportunity. It's a 40,000 square foot building. It is in really good shape. It's got good parking front and back of it. It likely won't be big enough for when we eventually transition all 450 or so high school students over to Edgecombe schools. So we're looking at other funding to possibly either build something onto it or building something next to it. You'll remember that the state several years ago created what they call the Need-Based Capital Improvement Fund, and they're using lottery dollars to help counties build school facilities. It used to be a requirement that if you got those funds to build a new school, they would withhold your lottery proceeds for 3 years. That provision has been removed. So now it's total grant funds. We've seen some counties get as much as $40 and $50 million of grant funding. So we're having conversation about us exploring that as a funding opportunity as well. So still lots to be discussed, lots to be worked out regarding that, but I did want you to know, number one, the progress that those two committees are making and moving towards preparing for the county line merger that, as you all know, maybe some in the public don't know, that by state statute is going to happen next fall. It has to happen. We have to have a plan in place by November of this year. And second thing, to let you all as a board and the public know about this opportunity now that's been presented to us for this building at Fountain Park, which I think is a really good opportunity for us.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
You know the women's prison?
Yes.
Remember there's another facility that young people have been occupying?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Juvenile delinquents, what do you want to call them? How close is that to where you're talking about this building is? Because to me, it's like right in the same facility.
Well, the women's
area.
prison has been closed for years. My
Right.
understanding is the state is looking at repurposing that as to some type of state emergency response facility or something like that. The youth development center that you're talking about, I guess is probably about a mile down the road or so. I mean, it's very secure. Actually, have to kind of know where it is to be able to find it back there. But I can certainly see your point about that.
And you know, they've closed off this road that goes, and I think that's going to be inconvenient because they've closed that road off that goes to that.
It is. It used to be a much more direct access coming off of 301 right across the train track. And as you know, when they built the intermodal site, they closed that crossing. So you do have to kind of go around to get to it. And And that is a little bit of an inconvenience, but I think for the opportunity that we have to get this building, likely at no cost to the county, at least the purchase of the building, is something I think we really need to look at. Lots of decisions to be discussed and made, and certainly opportunities for you all to have opportunity for more input and final decisions about how we move forward.
I just piggyback on what you're saying, I think it's an excellent idea because of the northern end of the county. They serve those children right there. And then you've got Rocky Mount side of the county. They serve children right there too, so that would be an easy fix for what we're trying to do, especially for the northern end.
All right, thank you.
So now, what time is your meeting tomorrow, and where is it located?
I'll text it to you, let you know.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Moving on.
Just a clarification on that is that we're not saying that we're going to build a high school there. We're not saying that as a board by us doing that.
I don't think that would, I sent some of my discussion, it would not be for I don't think it's a good site for a high school. It is a good site for what we intended, what the school board might be planning to do. Okay, but not to build a high school. Okay.
A point of order that I want to make, that we're not endorsing building another high school.
Not at this time.
We need a high school for that end of the county, but we're not talking about that site as a high school. Okay.
Okay.
In fact, when we're talking about the building of schools, you got to have enough acreage, and it's a whole bunch of things that you have to go into. Well, the building of the school is a school board issue. Okay. Next, Ms. Evans.
Update on broadband project. You are aware that, funding from the state through the GREAT grant, $4 million, was originally awarded to a company called Cloudwise. They had to make some changes to their application, and once it was reviewed a second time, that allocation of funds was pulled back from Cloudwise and now has been given to Brightspeed. Brightspeed, a representative was here a couple of months ago and gave a presentation. And so that, still working out the details for that to move forward, so we're pleased about that. I do want you to know, and it is public record, that Cloudwise has brought a lawsuit against the state because they felt like that those funds were pulled back from them unfairly, or whatever the case might have been. But I did have I had a call with a representative from the state DIT office about a week or so ago, and they wanted to assure us that they're going to, vigorously, I guess, push back against that lawsuit, but they wanted us to know that this is not going to stop them from moving forward with us with Brightspeed, because they know how important it is for the county. They know how long that we have been waiting for this, and so they just wanted to assure us that they're going to push forward with us working with Brightspeed. So there will be some contracts and some things. We're already starting to have conversations about that that will be coming back before you, but just wanted you to be aware. Also, they let me know that they're going to work hard to try to fund a second project in Edgecombe County. That has been their goal, to try to fund as many as possible, 2 projects in each county. And so they see the great need here. They see that it's something that you all very much support. So they're going to work on possibly awarding a grant for a second project in the county. So more details to come, and as those details come, I'll be sure to update you on that.
Question.
Yes.
When you go to church, you get asked all these kind of questions. Why the internet's not working? Go to Red Hill up in her district. There's no such thing at that church. Okay. The church yesterday, a bishop came and asked the new minister, the first thing I want you to do is get broadband out here. Like, how's he going to do that? So my question is, who would those churches talk to with Brightspeed? Because I told them, that's a little bit above what I can do. But I would be glad to give you the name of someone to talk to. And then a friend of mine told me about locality in Pine Tops, and I wanted to know, what do we know about them? And is it just specifically to Pine Tops? Because she sounded like she had a good deal, and I wanted to know, I'm here in Tarboro, can I get that deal?
Yeah, Locality Networks, I think it's called. They've been there for a few years now. They bought out the old, I think was Green Light system that was in and around Pine Tops. They bought that system, took it over, and have been just gradually expanding from there. We've heard a lot of positive things, that they've got good service. I think that their interest is really just continuing to slowly build out from that hub there in Pine Tops. So far, they didn't seem to have been necessarily interested in jumping over to other areas of the county.
Okay.
I've heard from many customers. Are you on them?
I'm not with them because I'm down.
You're down
Pitt
outside.
Marine serves me.
Right.
And we, the pole line agreement can't go through.
Right.
But yeah, they do great service, but it is very small, very limited.
Mm-hmm.
And, when they come into your area, it's kind of like, they'll do a survey, and it's like if 4 of us want it, that might not cut it, but if 60, it probably would. That's kind of the way it works.
Yeah.
That's private money. I mean, that's a private entity. Does
Right.
not take any government money at all.
Yeah, it is private business.
He's not a
If
private
you're gonna
business.
give me a good deal, where it came from.
Yeah.
To your first question, I will say if you have anyone from church or pastor, whoever, if you want to give me a name and phone number, I'll be happy to pass that along to contacts at Brightspeed. I'm sure Brightspeed will be happy to see, number one, is the church or whoever's asking in their planned project area. If not, if it's out, is it close enough that they might be able to include it?
And I think it's depending on the customer base, isn't it?
It is.
So I'm not going to be able to acknowledge it, sir. That's not our, so, please, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, but, and the great state funds are enabling them to now go into these more sparsely populated areas than they would be otherwise with their own private investments, so.
Is there anything else?
I'll mention that, we've had the Rocky Mount office, Health Department office closed for some time now, part of which was, just sort of interruption of COVID, but limited staff to be able to run 2 clinics together. We've talked before that it is important, we believe, to reopen that office because over half of our population, county citizens, live inside the city limits of Rocky Mount. So we do want to make sure we're available and able to provide services as much as possible. Excuse me. So we're going to be open there 5 days a week. There will be clinic there on one day at least to start off, and then some other services provided. But do invite you to join us on August the 14th at 11 a.m. We're going to do a grand reopening of the Rocky Mount Health Department office and open it up for citizens who want to come in and see it and tour it, and you're welcome to join us. I'll mention item H, update on the Get Off the List initiative. We did hold our first community engagement session on July 31st. We had very good attendance. I was pleased. We received some good questions, good feedback. Our goal is, first of all, to let those who might not be aware of what this Get Off the List initiative is, and that is we're targeting these lists that we're on and trying to work more collaboratively across different entities and partners to work together to increase their good output so that we can move in a direction of, if not getting off some of these lists, at least moving to a better place on some of these lists. So we had really good community attendance. That we'll be having our second one on the 21st at the Rocky Mount Event Center beginning at 6 p.m. and hoping for a good turnout as well. And I don't want to steal Ms. Harris's thunder, but I know she did share some information with me that she has been appointed, in some cases, and reappointed to 5 committees with NACO. She continues to serve very diligently and represent us very well with the National Association of Counties. I know they recently had their annual conference. Those committees include the Healthy Counties Advisory Board, Immigration Reform Task Force, Membership Standing Committee, Programs and Services Standing Committee, and the Rural Action Caucus. So thank Ms. Harris for NACO is a very important partner for us as counties on a national level. Not only do they represent our interests as when it comes to federal government, executive, particularly with Congress, but also they are conveners of resources for us as counties, and we value them greatly, and thank Ms. Harris for her continued participation with them. That's all I was going to bring to your attention for manager's report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Ms. Evans?
I just had a comment rather than TDA report. Again, we kind of flipped over this report, but if you look at the budget for the TDA, and there's a lot of people that go into this number, they're performing 140% above budget on occupancy tax. That speaks to the people that work in our tourism and really are driving people to Edgecombe County. That number is really going to go up this year. And if you don't know, we got the Mountain to Sea Trail bike tour is coming to county. And the chamber has filled every single room that is available in Edgecombe County. They have filled in a hospital, in a hotel, and then they're going to Nash County as well. So they have asked citizens to help house people. They've got people sleeping on the common. So that is really, speaks to the work that they're doing. And again, 140% above budget.
Thank you.
At this time, commissioners.
I did want to report, I did go to Austin, Texas for our National Association of County Commissioners, and went to several sessions. One of the sessions that was very interesting was how counties are getting creative to meet housing needs for the homeless. In fact, they did a tour, and they showed these small kind of houses that they are building, the counties are building to help the homeless start having, a place to go. And that was very interesting. And you can go on the website and take a look at that. I'd also found out in my human services meeting that Edgecombe is not the only one who cannot find people to work in DSS, in the health department. It is all across the country. We found it out in our resilient counties. And talking of different ways of how to get people to come into those departments. It's going to have to be more than just a raise. It's going to have to be an atmosphere. It's going to have to be working environments. It's just going to be a lot of different things to bring people in and to get them to stay. But that was one of the interesting. The most interesting was a crisis in America on civility. How we talk to one another, how we treat each other. That goes for citizens as well as elected officials, to be civil to one another. So that was very interesting. And some of those counties had people come into their meetings with guns. They've had them show up at their homes because they disagree with something that happened, at a board meeting. And then the very most important one was the mental health summit. As I said, we're coming out of a pandemic in 2021, and a lot of our employees, a lot of our family members have not addressed the mental drain that the pandemic had on all of us. And I think we need to do something for our employees, because I don't think we've really done anything in the mental health to really let them know, I know we've got a number they can call, those kind of things, but we need to make sure that we are keeping up with the mental health of our employees and our families, because suicide rate has tripled since the pandemic. And believe it or not, we'll have people coming to work every day, and even in DSS, who have to get funding from DSS to keep their families going. So we've got to remember mental health is top priority.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Any other comments?
I have one comment, and I think this is speaking to a citizen comment about the leasing of the vehicles. Is my understanding is that meeting is actually going to happen on August 11th. But for reiteration, I've asked the board at our May meeting to have support to have that by the budget. We still don't have it, and so this is the fourth meeting in a row that I've asked us to have information on leasing of vehicles that it was supposed to be presented back in May.
Any other comments from the board? Hearing none. Attorney? At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going into closed session to discuss an economic development matter. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So move.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. Thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be going into executive session. Thank you.
that is on it. So it's not a credit card. It's used as a credit card, but it's really a purchase card.
Yeah, because I had to go to Charlotte for the college for training. My vice president used his P card to pay for my room. You know, I had held the card with my card, but he paid for it with his P card. Didn't have any problem whatsoever.
Because he was there, right? He
wasn't there.
Oh.
He had to, they sent him the information, he had to fill it out and all this kind of stuff. And when I got there, it had my name attached to it, that they had, you know, he had sent his paperwork in, and I didn't have a problem, you know. But I've seen counties where they just have a card in the county's name. They got 5 commissioners going, and that one commissioner uses that card to pay for all of them. But anyway, we need to find something different.
We'll find a solution, but I don't think the solution is.
I don't have to have an individual card. I just want somebody to have one that can have.
Cards get folks in trouble. And cards need to be controlled.
That's why I said that friend.
Now, we don't have a county credit card.
We use P cards now. All of us.
The county does not have, you do not have a county credit card.
I use a P card.
A P card,
Yes, sir.
so we don't have a county.
I mean, it functions
It's
like a credit card.
Yeah, it's like an individual credit limit credit card for a total credit.
So the limit on your card is what?
10,000?
But, well, why wouldn't we have a P card for the county then?
Well, I think, and Linda, you correct, I think it has to be issued with a person's name on it, correct? Yeah, I don't think we can just have a Edgecombe County card, because even before when we had actual credit cards, it had my name on it, and we had one in IT, the IT director's name was on it.
Well, suggest a solution for us. What
Maybe.
Go ahead.
Okay, when you make the reservation, can you not just say, what is the incidental charge and just add it to it? That would remedy it.
But if you use your own personal card, your incidentals we refund those, don't we? I mean,
No, they hold $400 for 5 to 7 days on your card. My husband used his, because I'm paid mine off, because I'm turning 65, I don't want to have it anymore. So for us to get a room, he used his, and it helped, and he's, let's see, as of
But if
yesterday,
she
he hadn't
does
got it
that,
back.
the process, if she does that, when you make the reservation, because she makes the reservation, then just add the incidental cost to it.
And we're finding every hotel is a little bit different.
Everybody won't do that.
It's getting more difficult, but we will certainly look at, we'll explore some solutions.
Can I make just to contact the association? I'm sure that they've had this presented to them.
Oh, it happened to me once before, and Kevin brought his card instead of me having to pay the $500. The hotel we were at wanted me to pay $500.
But what if you don't
He
have
brought his
that?
card and had him put it on that.
But I don't.
We'll
I don't know
look
what-
at some options and come back and discuss.
Any other comments? Hearing none, motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by